Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm Kathy Conan, and I'm one of the vocal guests for Micro Music Camp. And it's so wonderful that you're here and taking some time out of your time together and to maybe learn some new things about music. And today, a little bit more about singing. This afternoon, what we're going to do in this session is I'm going to talk just for a few minutes about singing, some technical things, just to refresh our memories and to remind us of what it's like to sing and the things we should be considering. And then in a few minutes, I'm going to be introducing our other guest and interview her, and we'll get a chance to learn a little bit about her and about her music making. So it's great to be with you. I was thinking a little bit about how it's been such a long time. So it's important that just like athletes are training and working out and warming up and doing all those things, right now, while we're maybe not singing as much as we should be or could be, I guess, it think we be thinking about our own singing and to continue singing so that when we get back with our groups, we haven't really lost everything about how we sing. Of singing, and whether some of you might be doing some recording for your church. Maybe you are, apparently I'm lagging a bit. I don't know how to fix that. Maybe we're recording solos for your church, or maybe you're just singing on your own, or maybe you're online with school. I know I'm teaching online, and maybe you're doing a little bit of singing there. I'm hoping Anyway, so I just want to talk about some singing things right now. First of all, if you're looking at a brand new song, maybe you are thinking about doing a solo in the future, or you'll be back in. There's some things that we have to think about. And one of the first things, obviously, maybe should be obvious, is that we need to learn the notes and the rhythms of a song. And first time, you're making sure that you understand where the melody goes, what it sounds like, that you've got accurate rhythms, and you know what the song is about. And when I teach singing, I teach holistically. I don't like to just learn the notes and the rhythms and then add on something else. I like to teach it holistically, but I think it's really important that you learn right away what the notes and then I think a really key thing to singing, whether you're singing a solo or a piece with a group, is that you read the words. You look at the text. We're really lucky as singers, there's a message there. And so I often tell people to take the words right out of the music and just read them and get familiar with them and know what you're singing about, know what the theme is, and which words might need to be stressed more or brought out more. And then after you do that, you can really sing those words to the notes and rhythms you've learned. It's really important that we have clear and clean diction. In singing, when we talk about diction, we're talking about our consonants, and we're talking about our vowels. That's the way words start and end, and also consonants that come in the middle of words. When I speak to you, I don't always speak with clarity like this. That's what I need to do when I sing. I need to make sure that I'm thinking about how a word starts and how it ends, and so that my diction is clear. Talk, think, mine, whatever the word is, the beginnings and the ends are so important. And then the way we make the words is with the vowel sounds, right? We have vowel sounds, and have someone said, you need to open your mouth more. I can't hear you. You need to open your mouth more. But the interesting thing is, what we really would like to say is that you need to have more space inside your mouth. And we think of having lots of space inside. So what we say in music is that the sound can resonate. And we need to think, some of you may even talked about singing in your head tone, or where we're placing these sounds inside. So when we say open your mouth more, what I really think is more space inside, because the vowels A, E, Ah, O, the lips around those vowels, but the space inside is where the air is moving, and we can have this, the sound will resonate. When you're singing in a group and you're sitting beside somebody that has a round vowel, let's thou, right? If you all sing it differently, you won't blend your sound. It's important that whatever the word is, that you will say. And so we often think about really round vowels and keeping them round and focused. A, E, A, O, U. I like to think, I talk to my students vowels. Sometimes when we sing E, it can get very spread, and we want to bring our lips in and bring the vowel in E. Now, there are some singing and there are some All right. All right, I'm back, but I don't know if I'm back with you or if I'm back on the screen.
You're back on the screen.
Up with you?
Yeah.
Okay. We're back. Okay, just for those of you that know, I'm a high school music teacher, and this happens to me quite regularly in my daily these days. Guys, for that, and we'll try back. So just to recap, when you're learning a song, you're learning the notes and the rhythms, you're reading the text, you're finding out what it means, and then you're thinking about your consonants and your vowels to these sound words, a message that you're singing. The third thing I just want to talk about is making a musical phrase, an idea. If I were to sit here and talk to you at this same level and I never change my pitch and I just keep talking like this, on and on and on, I haven't stopped listening to me yet. It's important when we talk to people that we change our inflection and our pitch, and we slow down and we speed up a little bit. And we need to think about our singing a line. So a lot of that is dictated to us by the actual text. We're talking about the words. So you need to think about the ideas. You might be circling words or under words that are important. The phrase, the idea is going to go. We always think of music as moving forward. It has direction. It's going somewhere. And so we often think about a phrase in singing as like an arc or a rainbow, right? It goes up. It reaches a peak and it comes back down. Some phrases you might get loud all the way through and they just plow right through. Some might be quiet and reflective. So we have to think about our phrases and how we're going to music come alive and get to be powerful through the way we shape our phrases. And that has a lot to do with breathing. And I'm not going to speak directly about breathing now, because when I bring Miriam on in a few, I'm going to be asking her a couple questions about the idea of how we get the message across, the way we shape the line and where we breathe. And you can mark up your music all the time, put breath marks, put underline words, as I said, do whatever help you think of the phrase or the line that you're going to be singing. Okay, so what have we talked about? We've talked about rhythms. We've talked about the importance of the text. We've talked about the importance of good diction, and we've talked about phrasing, how we make the music come alive, what we do with it, right? And using a shaping phrase. And so the other thing is too, dynamics. When you see louds and soft, you know what a forte or a piano is on the music, doesn't mean that's what you have to do the entire time. If it's something I'm going to say a lot of the time, I'm still going to shape it. I'm still going to do something with it within that dynamic that's been indicated on the music. But lastly, before we continue with our interview in a few minutes, our communication just got cut, right? The internet went out and I lost communication with you. But when we sing and we're singing a solo, we want to be able to communicate with our audience, right? We have a message, just that message is communicated through us. And so there are things like posture, the way we stand tall with our feet planted on the ground, maybe shoulder width apart. Our shoulders are up, down. We don't want any tension when we breathe in. We don't want to bring our shoulders up. We want to be relaxed. We want to keep our chin level. We don't want to be straining or putting it looking at the floor. We want to look out at the people into it. And we want to make sure we are relaxed, right? So that when we do breathe, our rib cage is nice and high. When we breathe and we sing, people see us as really, presenting this music to them, and we have good posture and we have communication, and so much of it is in our face, right? Our eyes, if they come alive, a smile, just the way we look at people. Communication is so important. People will listen to you if you look like you're enjoying what you do and you have good communication through your face. Now, there are things to speak about as far as technique, but we're going to move on in just a second. But I also want to share with you, scripture tells us so much singing. There are so many verses in scripture, some other places that speak about singing. And singing is just such an incredible way to communicate our love for God. So even now, while we're in COVID and you're like, well, I'm not singing in a king soul church, you can still sing. Keep singing. And that is your offering to God, even in these days that we're living in. And so I want to just share a couple verses. Psalm 95, verses 1 and 2 say, "Oh, come, let us sing to the Lord. Let us make a joyful noise to the rock of our salvation. Let us come into his presence with thanksgiving. Let it joyful to him with songs of praise." So even as you're at home and you're doing a little bit of singing, think about the technical things that are important to be a singer, some that we've touched on today. And remember that who you're really singing for. And even in these tough days right now, you can be singing at home and you can be making a joyful noise. Well, it's my privilege this afternoon too to introduce our other, and I'm really excited about this this afternoon. Miriam is going to be coming on the screen, I think, any second.
Hello.
If they're inviting her in. There we go. There she is. Miriam, I'm just going to welcome you and just tell you, I know in the earlier session they introduced us and on the screen us come here today, but I just wanted to say a few things about Miriam before we really get into the interview. One is Miriam was nominated for a Juno Award, which is a huge deal. It's one of the a couple years ago now, I think, or last year. She is a professional singer. She's an opera singer, but she sings in many different genres, and we're going to hear a little about that today. A theater music company called Against the Grain Theater, which is really doing some innovative things, and Miriam's been part of that since the start. She the mother of two little, absolutely adorable and sweet, and she's married to Joel. And Joel is my nephew, so Miriam is my niece, and so this is a really great privilege. Pleasure to be with her. And I want to tell you one thing in case I forget. Miriam, a number of years ago, recorded the Canadian National Anthem sung in Arabic, the first time it's ever been in Arabic. And I just think that's what she has done. And she and her family, they go to North Toronto Core. They attend there. And we're just so thrilled, Miriam, to have you with us.
Thank you for having me
This afternoon. So welcome.
Thank you.
I think I'd like to start, Miriam, by I'd love to start this afternoon. We've got different age range of listening, and this will be young girls that are kids that are like 7 years old going up to teenage years. And so I think it would be really cool if you could tell us just a little bit about how you started singing when you were a young child, your in teenage years and into lessons and so on. Just tell us a bit about that.
I think I've been singing my whole life. I started when I was about 3 in the church choir with my dad in Damascus, Syria. And then when we moved to Canada, I didn't speak English or French, but there was a school choir. And so that was a big part of my kind of getting to know my friends and my peers. So I was 7, 8 years old. And the first song that I ever learned was The Greatest Love of All by Whitney Houston. And that kind of set me on this path of like really wanting to become the next great Whitney Houston pop singer. And I loved it. And then I did the competition route. So I did a lot of I Will Always Love Yous and One Moment in Time and those types of songs. And then somebody's coming into the room. And this is our little son. And then I eventually, there's Joel and there's Emil. And then I eventually took voice lessons when I was 14. And that's when I sort of started experimenting with more art song and classical music. So that's basically when I started that kind of thing. And I did a little bit of musical theater, but then I eventually went into university for music. And that's when I learned about opera.
Cool. And so, you know what, you just said that you learned about opera, and really, before some specific questions about opera, if you could actually describe what opera is, because I'm sure that there are some people that has, you know, especially kids who might think, oh, what is opera, or I don't like opera, I heard it. So how would you describe opera to people that maybe don't know enough very much about it?
So opera is really, if you've ever seen a play or a musical theater or anything that, or even a movie, if you've seen a movie, let's say, it's a story that is sung. So instead of me speaking to the person next to me, I'm singing to them. And the thing that makes opera different is we often have a big orchestra, and the singer has to sing in a way that projects over the orchestra into every seat in the audience. And we are not mic'd, so we do not have microphones. So it's a way of singing that is very efficient or easy, with using our whole body, our breath, and our resonance in a way that makes our voice one of the louder instruments. And so, and what it also does is it takes, so that's what the singer does, but within the story, we sing the lines that are our emotions. So not just the words, but we take the beauty of the line of the music, which are things that can't be said in words, and we make this beautiful sound that goes out into the audience and moves and moves into people's hearts.
Yes. Oops, I'm muted. I'm not sure. Oh, sorry. I guess the question then I would have for you is, why opera? Like, what made you decide opera instead of, you know, you said sang the Whitney Houston song and maybe so on. Why opera? What made you choose opera?
So after doing musical theater and finding a way to, I see here a comment that says, can you call her instead? And I just want to see if they can hear me. Can you hear me now? Yeah, Kathy, can you hear me? Okay, good. So I chose opera when I went into university because the first thing, one of the classes that we did was an opera. It was called Dialogue of the Carmelites. It was in French, Dialogue des Carmélites. And it was such a beautiful story. And I was just in the chorus, so I wasn't even a soloist, but hearing my colleagues sing and hearing how and feeling all those things that I felt, but then also being in the chorus and being a part of this team that was bigger than myself in making something so beautiful, and then getting to act and sing and feel the emotions and have people feel the emotions. All of that kind of came into place in one kind of place, and that was in opera, and that kind of changed my my path.
Cool. So Miriam, I guess, you know, you've made singing your profession. And so obviously you love it. What would you say your favorite role is that you've ever played in opera, and what was it about it that was so special to you?
I have two. So my favorite opera role is Mimi, and it's something that a role that I grew up listening to, and it's about a poor seamstress who falls in love with a poet, and they're both kind of poor, and they're in Paris, and you know, you kind of see the progression of their relationship, but each act is kind of like months away from the previous act, and at the very end, she dies, And I kind of loved how tragic her story was, because she's so sick from the very beginning, but she has so much to give and so much life in her, even though she's quite ill. So I loved her music. I loved kind of her tragic story. And then the other one is Ire, which is the piece that I recorded. And I loved that piece so much because I got to sing in my native language, which is Arabic, but also Hebrew, in Sardinian, in Ladino, and in Spanish, and all these different ways that kind of connected me to kind of my roots. But also I was able to express that through kind of my opera or classical voice.
Nice. One of the things I just spoke at the beginning, just, give practical things about singing. Speak of, it's probably the basic thing in any, whether we're singing or playing an instrument or whatever, is breathing and air. And as a teacher, I talk about it all the time, and to get done, whether we sing or play an instrument. And I wanted to leave it because I wondered if there's, so that we can make this really practical for the people that are watching and for the students are interested in singing, exercises, vocal exercises that you could share with them, or things that would help them as far as breathing. So I don't know whether you can, maybe demonstrate, right, on themselves or whatever, but just, maybe some exercises.
I really quite love connecting things, like making connections in my body. So one of the things I like to do is I put my hand right where my jaw joint is. And as I breathe in, I kind of massage and I let myself relax my jaw. And as I do that, I try and feel what my rib cage is doing. So I feel my rib cage opening at the same time. So if you take in an inhalation while you relax your jaw and your tongue and feel your rib cage opening up, that is a great inhalation. One that I also really love is if I know what vowel I'm singing on, I actually love to breathe in on that vowel. So E, A, O, U. And I loved, Kathy, when you were talking about how we don't go wide, for the E's and the E's. I enjoyed that because it's so true, because we make our vowels with the tongue. So as I'm breathing, I'm also reiterating this relaxation of the jaw. So if you could hear me, I'm breathing in on E, A, O, and this creates an inch of space here that helps us keep the resonance open, but you see my mouth is not so big. And so when I'm breathing in, I'm also feeling my rib cage expanding. And what I really love to think about is what I call an active alignment. So even as I'm exhaling, I'm constantly getting taller and wider. So I'm not smushing myself as I'm running out of air. I'm actually activating space between my vertebrae, which are the bones in your spine. So if you can imagine them being like this, and as you take in the air, we're creating space. So we're getting taller. So it's almost as if someone's doing this. So it's just a very beautiful feeling, and it's freeing. So the exhalation is kind of like the inhalation, because we still continue to grow. And so that is a really great kind of way. And we constantly think about letting go in here in the jaw as we're making sound, and the air just comes out freely. The other one that I really love is if you had a straw, or imagine that you had a straw, and as you're exhaling, it's all going in one direction and it doesn't stop. So I'm not going but almost increasing the intensity between the notes, so that the air is one stream all the time. And trying to play with that within sentences is also kind of fun.
Yeah, that's great. And I think, even these days right now, while we're all sitting at home, and some people might be doing classes online with their school, singing, and our, I think, as we're sort of sitting and not standing with our groups and so on. So I think those exercises sound fantastic. I think another thing, Miriam, that young singers find love to sing is if they are, it's a solo for church or something in a choir at school or whatever, is the nerves. How do you, what tips can you give to people to maybe help them with the nerves that they might be having? Some of them might be too afraid to sing a solo because of their.
So sometimes it's like having a purpose, and the purpose is not to just go up and sing a song, but to give a message. And so I like to think about why I'm singing that song, and that kind of grounds me, and that helps me make it calms me a little bit, because I'm not just thinking about, will it be perfect, but what am I trying to say with this song? Which actually also ties into what you were speaking about earlier, about finding the emphasis of the word, but not just finding the emphasis of the word, but singing the meaning of the word. And so, and allowing that to speak even before you make sound. And one thing that used to help me with nerves is it's kind of like a little bit of a meditation, but before I go up to sing, I would take 3 deep, slow breaths in this way. And it feels like an eternity, but it's more like 8 seconds before I go on. And I'm thinking about the purpose of the song as I breathe those 3 breaths. And that calms me right down. And what it also does is it puts me in the space of the song before I've even walked on. And that tends to sort of take away some of the nerves, because what it does is it gives me a higher kind of place to go to. I'm not going to make perfect sound. I'm going to make music, and I'm going to send a message.
Yeah. I love how you put that emphasis on the message as well, because we did talk about it earlier. But that's what the great gift thing is to really be able to share that message, whatever language it's in, or whatever it's for, whether it's, whatever the song is, in whatever context. The other thing I just, if you could share, because I think as young singers, you've grown through this, and now you're a professional singer. But as young singers who are just, they may never be soloists, and they may never, do things like, and things like you sort of thinking that would be a good experience. But I guess what advice or what tips or advice would you give to young singers? It could be, I don't care how you answer this. It could be something technical, or it could be something just about life. Or what advice would you give to some of the singers that are listening?
Be kind to yourself, and know that you're allowed to have a bad day. And so if you're practicing and something's not working, it's okay to kind of walk away from it and come back to it when you're feeling a little bit more in the mood to sort of approach it. I do think that practicing every day is very important, even if it's only for 5 to 10 minutes, just to get acquainted with your voice. And starting off with 15 minutes as a goal is fantastic. And then if it's not working, just going away from it and coming back to it. But often if it's going well, you want to do about an hour, but don't push yourself too much, in the sense that sometimes if your voice is tired, or, you've had not enough sleep, or you're dehydrated, it feels a little bit differently. And rather than get mad at yourself for it not working, try and remember that muscle memory is really important, and that your muscles will start to remember how it feels to sing something. So if you're constantly grinding at it and it's not feeling good, that's what you will remember when you go to sing it again. So try it in a really loving and a very kind way to yourself, and then move on. And then your muscle memory will start to teach you how to do it properly and in a more kind of organic way, rather than beating yourself up over it and then creating fear in the performance. So, giving yourself that time and experimenting is really, really important, which is why I think 15 to 20 minutes of warm up, at least, to get to know your voice and know when it's working and know when it's not, is really, really important.
Yeah, these are great. These are great I can't believe that I think it's really great to be able to share some of our thoughts with sort of these young singers, and especially in these tough times, we all need to keep singing. And so, Miriam, I wish we could spend more time now talking and sharing, but hopefully we'll have the opportunity again, and that maybe the young people in this division will have a chance to work with you at some point, because I know that they would learn so much from you. And thank you to the Micro Music Camp organizers for giving us this chance to share. And I hope you have a great day, Miriam. Say hi to my beautiful great nephews and my nephew Joel. And it's been great to chat. So thanks to everybody, and I hope everybody enjoys the rest of the camp today.
Thank
Take
you.
care.